In our last class, we studied about the earth magnetism or geomagnetism, and also we studied the magnetic elements of the earth like magnetic declination, angle of dip or inclination, and as well as horizontal component of the earth's magnetic field. In our today's class, let us now study some terms related to magnetic properties of the material. So what are the different terms associated with the magnetic properties of the material that we are going to discuss? So now let us consider the figures in which I have written on the board. This is a solenoid through which we pass the current. So these are nothing but the copper wire wound on the non-magnetic tube in the form of helix. When we pass the current through the solenoid, we know that a magnetic field is set up both inside the solenoid and outside the solenoid. Outside means here, both at the upper region and as well as at the lower region, and also at the forward region and at the back of the solenoid. That means if you imagine this as a solenoid, all around the solenoid there will be magnetic field, and as we move away from the solenoid, either like this or like this or like this, the magnetic field goes on decreasing, and it is found that the magnetic field is strong and uniform inside the solenoid. So what does this line represents? This line represents the magnetic lines of force. Magnetic lines of force inside the solenoid, and it is almost uniform. The field is uniform. Whereas at the ends of the solenoid, the field is non-uniform. Now, what is meant by magnetizing field? This is the first term, magnetizing field, represented by B naught, which is a vector quantity. Suppose if we keep this solenoid in vacuum and if we pass the current through the solenoid, then the magnetic field that is produced because of the solenoid, or even we can consider the toroidal solenoid. That means we can consider the field due to magnetic toroid also. So the field that exists in vacuum, which is used to magnetize a material, is known as magnetizing field. So whatever field that is produced inside the solenoid in vacuum, this field is used to magnetize a substance. We can convert a magnetic material which is not a magnet into magnet by making use of this field. Therefore, magnetizing field means it is nothing but the field that exists in vacuum which can magnetize a substance. Which substance it can magnetize? It can magnetize only the magnetic substance, not the non-magnetic substance. And this field is represented, or it's mathematically given by the equation B naught equal to mu naught n into I. Mu naught is known as absolute permeability of free space, and n is the number of turns in 1 meter length of the solenoid. Suppose if I consider right from ear to ear, from this point to this point, length as equal to 1 meter. Then in this 1 meter length, how many turns are there? That is nothing but n, and I is the current flowing. So the field inside the solenoid here at this point is nothing but B naught, which is called as magnetizing field. So this is one term related to the magnetic property of the material. Now, if you consider any magnetic material means a material which can be magnetized or which can be converted into a magnet. Say for example, I am going to consider now an iron bar. You know that in this iron bar, each atom acts as a tiny magnetic dipole with some magnetic dipole moment. So I have written here the tiny magnetic dipoles, but only thing is these magnetic dipoles are arranged randomly. See, this is one atom, iron atom. This is another iron atom, iron atom. All these atoms, every atom of this material, that means iron bar, behaves like a tiny magnet having its own magnetic dipole moment. But only thing is, the net magnetic dipole moment is equal to 0. The reason is the substance is not yet magnetized. Still it is remaining as iron bar only, with all the dipoles oriented in random direction. Because of random direction of the magnetic dipoles, the net magnetic moment becomes equal to 0. Because the magnetic moment of, say for example, if M is the magnetic moment of this magnetic dipole, the magnetic moment of this magnetic dipole gets cancelled with the magnetic moment of another magnetic dipole. Look here, if the dipole moment direction is like this downward, you can notice this magnetic dipole whose dipole moment direction is upward. Now the magnetic moment of this magnetic dipole and this magnetic dipole both get cancelled. So this is how each magnetic dipole moment get cancelled, and finally the net magnetization of this material will be equal to 0. This is in the absence of external magnetic field. So net magnetization is equal to 0. Okay. Now, what are these? These are nothing but magnetic dipoles. So each atom of the substance acts as magnetic dipole. Now, if I use this magnetic field produced inside the solenoid by passing the current through it, in this field, if I keep this specimen, say for example, look here, I am going to consider this specimen or this material placed in this magnetic field like this. Let us show this separately here. So what is this field? This field is nothing but the magnetizing field produced due to the solenoid. So this is nothing but B naught. Okay. So in this field I have kept the specimen like iron bar. So when we keep the specimen like iron bar in the magnetizing field produced due to solenoid, then what happens? Because of this magnetizing field, all the dipoles orient themselves along the direction of the magnetizing field. Now for this specimen, this magnetizing field acts as an external magnetic field. So therefore here, because of this external magnetic field B naught, the dipoles which are randomly oriented in the absence of magnetic field, here B naught is equal to 0. Okay, when once we place this inside the solenoid, then only the external magnetic field is said to be applied to this material. As a result of this, when the dipole of the material align in the direction of magnetic field, now there will be some magnetization in the material. That means the material now gets magnetized. When once the material gets magnetized, then what is the net magnetic dipole moment? Net magnetic dipole moment occupied or that exists per unit volume of this material. That net magnetic dipole moment of unit volume of this material is known as intensity of magnetization. So this is another term, intensity of magnetization. Okay, represented by capital M, which is once again a vector quantity. Suppose if I consider unit volume here inside the material, say for example, so this is nothing but unit volume I am considering. So in this unit volume, what the total magnetic dipole moment? If M is the magnetic dipole moment of each magnetic dipole, then in this unit volume, how many dipoles are there totally? Now you take the magnetic moment of all those dipoles. If there are 100 dipoles, then consider 100 dipole magnetic moment. That means if M is the magnetic dipole moment of each atom, Then if there are 100 dipoles within this volume, then multiply this by 100. So that gives the magnetic dipole moment, net magnetic dipole moment of unit volume, and that is nothing but intensity of magnetization. So it is defined as net magnetic moment acquired by unit volume of the material. Okay. Now suppose if I consider the entire volume of the material, then what is the intensity of magnetization of this entire material? For that I write like this: M, which is nothing but intensity of magnetization, which is equal to M net. M net means the total magnetic dipole moment of all the dipole that is present in this entire volume of the material. So what the total volume of the material means, I consider the total volume of the material as V. For the definition sake, we always consider unit volume, definition sake. But when we consider the entire material or specimen, then we have to consider the magnetic moment of all the dipoles contained in that material, and we have to consider the total volume of that material. So if I divide the net magnetic moment of all the dipoles of the material by the volume of that material itself, then that gives the intensity of magnetization. So this is another term related to the magnetic properties of the material. Now here, what are the SI unit of this? This is vector quantity, okay, vector quantity, and its SI unit is ampere per meter. Once again, what is the SI unit of this? So it is once again a vector quantity, and its SI unit is ampere per meter. So both are vector quantities, and the unit of both these terms remains to be same, one and the same, that's ampere per meter. Now let us define one more term. I consider now one more term. When once this specimen gets magnetized, after keeping this in this magnetizing field, now this specimen possesses its own magnetic field. Now look here, the same specimen I write here, okay, same thing I have written here. So this is nothing but the magnetizing field due to the solenoid. Then these are the magnetic field lines possessed because of magnetization of this material. When once this material becomes a magnet, then it will have its own magnetic field. Now if I consider the total magnetic lines of force inside the material. Now what is the total magnetic lines of force or total magnetic field inside the material? Let us consider like this: net magnetic field inside the material is nothing but equal to sum of magnetizing field, then magnetic field produced due to the magnetization of the material. Okay. So what is Bm? It is nothing but the magnetic field which is represented by means of red color magnetic lines of force. So the red color magnetic lines of force represents the magnetic field lines developed because of the magnetization of the material. Okay. So inside now we have set of field lines. One set of field lines due to the external magnetic field or magnetizing field produced because of solenoid, and this magnetic field lines, it is due to the magnetization of the material. So this field plus this field, total field, if I consider net field, B naught plus Bm. So this net field is nothing but known as magnetic induction. Magnetic induction or magnetic field strength, one more name, magnetic field strength, or also known as one more term, or magnetic flux density. Magnetic flux density. Okay. So it can be represented by either B net, or simply it can also be represented by only B. Now let us define what is meant by magnetic induction. So it is nothing but net magnetic field inside the material due to magnetizing field that is B naught, and the field due to magnetization of the material. Okay. The same magnetic induction can also be defined in one more way. So there is one more form of defining this magnetic induction. What does that means? Now inside this material or inside this specimen, if I just consider one unit area of any shape, either circular shape or rectangular shape or square shape. As an example, I consider now a unit area like this. Okay. Now this is unit area, means A equal to 1 meter square. Through this unit area, how many magnetic lines of force that pass? That is also known as magnetic induction. Now as an example, you count the number of lines of force passing through this unit area normally, perpendicularly. Suppose if the area is like this, the magnetic field line should pass perpendicular to what? Perpendicular to that area. So as an example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. So this line is out of this boundary, that means out of this area. So I take into consideration only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. 6 lines of force are passing through that area perpendicularly. So the total number of lines of force passing through that area normally or perpendicularly is also known as magnetic induction. So let us write one figure like this. This is an area in which I have considered. So this is nothing but now magnetic induction represented by B. But mathematically, if you want to find the magnetic induction, we cannot count the lines and we cannot say the number of lines itself as magnetic induction. There is one mathematical equation to find the magnetic flux density through this area or magnetic induction. What does that means? It is nothing but, look at this, magnetic induction is given by B equal to flux by area. Flux means magnetic lines of force. So if phi b is the flux through this area, so if phi b is the magnetic flux through this area, then what is the magnetic induction through this area? Means it is given by phi b divided by A. So where A is nothing but the area through which the magnetic lines of force are passing. Now the flux density through this area or the magnetic induction, now it is given by mathematically phi b divided by A. Once again it is a vector quantity. Remember, flux is a scalar quantity whereas magnetic flux density is a vector quantity. You must remember this difference. Flux is scalar whereas magnetic flux density is vector. So it is once again a vector quantity and its SI unit is Tesla, represented by capital T, or Weber per meter square. Weber per meter square. Now know the difference between these three, because we have to discuss now few more terms related to the magnetic properties of the material. So far we discussed about what is meant by magnetizing field, the field that is produced in vacuum and used to magnetize the material is nothing but magnetizing field. Then what is meant by intensity of magnetization means the magnetic moment acquired per unit volume of the material when it is kept in an external field or magnetizing field is known as intensity of magnetization. Then magnetic induction means the net field inside the material or the number of magnetic lines of force passing through unit area. So definition sake here once again we consider unit area, but whenever we want to find the magnetic induction we consider the total area and the total number of lines of force that is passing, which is nothing but phi b. Now let us define one more term known as magnetic field intensity. This is also one of the terms related to magnetic property of the material. Now I consider one solenoid like this, okay, then these are all nothing but the copper wire wound in the form of helix over a non-magnetic tube to form a solenoid, and let n be the number of turns in 1 meter length. Say for example from here to here, if I consider this as 1 meter length, right, from this end to this end, that means from this point to this point, if the length is 1 meter, then in this 1 meter length how many turns are there? Let there be n number of turns. Now when we pass the current, now a magnetic field is produced inside the solenoid. Let us consider that magnetic field now. So this is nothing but the magnetic field produced by passing the current through the solenoid. Okay. Now magnetic field intensity refers to the degree of the magnetic field, which can magnetize the material. That means to what extent or to what level this magnetic field is able to magnetize a magnetic material. So it is nothing but the degree to which a magnetic field can magnetize a substance or material or specimen. All are one and the same. Now look here, there is a magnetic field inside the solenoid. If I keep a specimen or a magnetic material, say for example I am going to keep an iron bar, okay, so this is nothing but iron. To what extent or to what amount the magnetic field produced by solenoid can magnetize this, that refers to degree. So degree refers to level or quantity or amount, whether this magnetizing field represented by B naught is able to magnetize this material strongly or weakly. So that degree of magnetization that is produced in this material by this magnetic field is nothing but magnetic field intensity, and it is given by mathematically H equal to N into I. There is one more way of defining this magnetic field intensity. What is that means? Number of ampere turns per unit length of the solenoid. Okay. Number of ampere turns means what? See, this Ni itself is known as ampere turn. Ampere turn. N refers to turn, and for current, what is the unit that is used? Ampere turn. So the product of N into I refers to ampere turn. In 1 meter length, N number of turns is there. Then in this N number of turns, what's the total current flowing? Suppose if I is the current flowing through each turn, okay, if I is the current flowing through each turn, I is the current for one term. Then what is the current flowing through n number of turns? Current flowing through n number of turns is nothing but n into I. So this is the current flowing through n turns. So that is nothing but ampere turn. So how much of current flows through n number of turns of every unit length? Through this unit length, through this unit length, how much of current flows through n number of turns of each unit length? That refers to the ampere turns. So this is another way of defining the magnetic field intensity, and this magnetic field intensity is also given by one more equation, that is H equal to B naught divided by mu naught. Okay, B naught divided by mu naught. So this is one more mathematical equation. See, there are two ways. Remember this. You should not get confused with respect to this word. Degree refers to quantity or to what level, whether the specimen gets magnetized weakly or strongly. If the field is strong enough, then this material also gets magnetized strongly. If this field is weak, then this material gets magnetized weakly. Whether the substance gets magnetized weakly or strongly depends on this magnetic field. So that is why we write this as degree to which this magnetic field can magnetize, or number of ampere turns per unit length of the solenoid. Then what is its SI unit? It's once again a vector quantity, and its SI unit is once again ampere per meter. So this is the SI unit of this magnetic field intensity. Now let us consider one more term related to magnetic property of the material. What is that means? Magnetic permeability. Magnetic permeability. Okay, represented by the symbol mu. What does it mean? Actually, the term permeability refers to the ability of the medium or the material. What ability? What type of ability in which the medium or the material should possess? The medium or the material should possess the ability of allowing the magnetic lines of force. Medium or the material to allow the passage of magnetic lines of force. Whether the material allows more magnetic lines of force to pass, or does it allows only small number of magnetic lines of force to pass. So that ability refers to the permeability of the given material, and it is defined as ratio of the magnetic induction or the magnetic field, magnetic induction, magnetic flux density, all are one and the same. So ratio of magnetic field to the magnetic field intensity. Okay, so B divided by H. This is nothing but the magnetic permeability. So ratio of magnetic field to magnetic field intensity. Okay, now what is the SI unit of this? Is it a vector quantity? No, it is not a vector quantity. Then SI unit, B means magnetic field, Tesla. H, magnetic field intensity, nothing but ampere per meter. If I shift this to the numerator, then it becomes Tesla meter per ampere. Positive plus A will become minus A, minus M will become plus M. So Tesla meter per ampere is the SI unit. Now let us know a bit about this, little bit. Suppose if I consider one iron bar, okay, and also if I consider one copper bar, so this is iron, this is copper. If I keep both this material in a magnetic field, external magnetic field, say for example B0, then what happens? It is found that more number of magnetic lines of force found to pass through the iron than through the copper. Okay, as an example, if I consider few magnetic lines of force, say for example, I have taken now 5 magnetic lines of force. Out of 5, almost all, nearly all the magnetic lines of force can pass through the material. Okay, like this they can pass through the material. Whereas, if I consider now the copper bar, let us write it separately, which is once again kept in the same magnetic field, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines I consider, then it is found that majority of the magnetic lines of force do not pass through the copper. Only few magnetic lines of force may pass, maybe 1 or 2 like that. So it is only a rough number in which I am giving. Then what happens to the remaining magnetic lines of force? Remaining magnetic lines of force, they tend to move away. They tend to move away from the substance, like this. So they tend to move away from the substance. So that this clearly shows that through this material, that means through the copper material, so magnetic lines of force are not able to pass easily. It is not allowing all the magnetic lines of force to pass easily, whereas iron is allowing almost all the magnetic lines of force to pass easily. So from this we can conclude that iron is found to be more permeable than the copper. So that is the meaning of this. Already we have written ability of the medium or material to allow the passage of light. This has got a strong ability to allow all magnetic lines of force to pass, whereas that ability we do not notice in this copper. Therefore we say that iron is more permeable when compared to copper. So that is the meaning of this magnetic permeability. Now let us define one more term related to the magnetic properties of the material, which is nothing but known as magnetic susceptibility. See, the term susceptibility refers to how easily a substance can be magnetized. Substance can be magnetized. So that is the meaning of susceptible. Whereas permeability refers to ability of the medium or the material for allowing the magnetic lines of force to pass. Whereas this refers to once again an ability or how easily a substance can be magnetized. And actually it is defined as, since it is represented by chi, I write like this: ratio of intensity of magnetization, that is M, divided by H. H is nothing but magnetic field intensity. So it is defined as ratio of intensity of magnetization, to magnetic field intensity. Magnetic field intensity. Okay, M by H. Remember, this is not a vector quantity, this is nothing but a scalar. Both the magnetic permeability, that is nothing but mu. Permeability mu is also nothing but scalar. Okay, susceptibility as no unit. whereas magnetic permeability mu, though it is a scalar quantity, it has unit, okay, which is nothing but Tesla meter per ampere is the unit, whereas for this it has no unit. So how easily, with respect to this, let us consider one small explanation. Suppose if I consider once again a material like cobalt, let us consider a cobalt, and I consider copper. See, it is found that cobalt can be magnetized very easily than copper. If we keep this in an external magnetic field, okay, so cobalt get magnetized strongly when compared to copper. So that is why we say that cobalt is more susceptible than copper. Okay, so that is the meaning of this. Very easily we can magnetize cobalt, iron, nickel, all these can be magnetized when compared to copper. Can we magnetize the diamond? It's not so easy to magnetize the diamond. So though we try to magnetize the diamond, it possesses a very weak magnetic field. So if you consider this one, diamond with that of cobalt, once again it is found that cobalt is more susceptible than diamond. If you consider diamond and compare it with copper, then it is found that copper is found to be more susceptible than diamond. So that's the meaning of this, and it is defined mathematically like this: intensity of magnetization to the magnetic field intensity. That means how much the substance is able to get magnetized. If the substance get magnetized strongly, then intensity of magnetization also increases. So if you want to magnetize this strongly, then the magnetic field intensity or magnetic field strength should be strong. If the field strength is strong, then the intensity of magnetization also becomes strong. Then coming to the last term, one more term that is nothing, and that is noted, or nothing but relative permeability. Relative permeability represented by mu r. Okay, represented by mu r. See, permeability is different from that of relative permeability. See, in case of relative permeability, what we do means we compare the permeability of different magnetic materials with one another. Say for example, now if I find the permeability of cobalt, and if I compare that with the permeability of free space means air or vacuum, then it becomes a relative permeability. Similarly, if I find the permeability of iron, and if I compare the permeability of iron with that of its surrounding medium, say for example surrounding medium may be water or it may be air, then it becomes once again a relative permeability. So here it is defined as I write like this mathematical definition. Mu divided by mu naught. What does mu refers to? Mu refers to permeability of the material. Permeability of the material, magnetic material. Then what does this mu naught refers to? This refers to permeability of free space. Permeability of free space. Okay. Now, the ratio of the magnetic permeability of the material to the permeability of free space, that is nothing but relative permeability. Say for example, if I consider cobalt, if the permeability of the cobalt is mu, magnetic permeability, and now if I compare the magnetic permeability of cobalt with the permeability of the free space, that means surrounding medium, mu naught is the permeability of free space, absolute permeability of free space. Okay, so if I compare the permeability of cobalt with that of the permeability of free space, then it becomes now the relative permeability. So we say like this: relative permeability of cobalt is nothing but equal to its magnetic permeability divided by permeability of free space. So that is the meaning of this relative permeability. And once again, it is a scalar quantity and it has no unit for this. So these are the terms related to the properties of magnetic materials. What are the terms we studied with respect to the properties of the magnetic material? We studied about the magnetizing field B0. Then we studied about the intensity of magnetization, that is M. We studied about the magnetic field B or magnetic induction. Then we studied about magnetic field intensity or simply magnetic intensity. Then we studied about the permeability of the material, magnetic permeability of the material represented by mu. Then we studied about the susceptibility of the magnetic material. Then finally we studied about the relative permeability. Remember, all these are nothing but vector quantities. Okay, so these are nothing but, all these are nothing but scalar quantities. So of all these quantities, it is found that this one, mu r, no unit, susceptibility, no unit, whereas all other term possess the unit, SI unit. Now let us derive one relation between relative permeability and susceptibility. That means relation between mu r and susceptibility means chi. Now here I consider one magnetic material, say for example iron, cobalt, water it may be. Let us keep this in an external magnetic field, say for example B0. Okay, let us consider only the magnitudes. Now what happens, this material after some time it gets magnetized, that means it becomes a magnet. When once the iron or the cobalt is kept in an external magnetic field, because of this influence of external magnetic field, the whole material now gets magnetized, that means it becomes a magnet. When once it becomes a magnet or once it possesses magnetization, then it develops its own magnetic field. So what I do means, I write this magnetic field as Bm, that is magnetic field produced due to magnetization of the material. Okay, now what will be the net field inside the material now? The net field inside the material is nothing but B equal to B0 plus Bm. So already we studied while discussing the property of intensity of magnetization. So I write like this now, B0 is nothing but magnetizing field, then Bm is the field due to magnetization of the material, field due to magnetization of the material. Okay, then net field inside the material is given by, inside means here, okay, at any point. Now when once this substance gets magnetized, it will have its own magnetic pole, say for example north pole, this is south pole. Now the magnetic lines of force of this magnet starts from north to south outside, and inside it will be from south to north. See, these are the field lines developed due to the magnetization of the material. These are the field lines applied externally by making use of solenoid. So this is the field produced due to solenoid. In that field we have kept the specimen. Net field is nothing but a B equal to B0 plus Bm. Now we know the relation for H. What is the relation for H? H equal to Now, we wrote two relation, n into I, that is one relation. Okay, one more relation is nothing but B naught divided by mu naught. Okay, then what will be B naught if I cross multiply? It will be mu naught into H. Also, it is found that Bm is directly proportional to M. That means field due to magnetization is directly proportional to intensity of magnetization. That means if the specimen gets magnetized strongly, then it possesses a strong magnetic field Bm. That is the meaning of this. So, Bm directly proportional to M means if one quantity increases, another quantity should also increase. If once this specimen gets magnetized strongly because of this field, now the field produced due to the specimen is also found to be stronger. That means Bm will also become large. That's the meaning of this. Then if I bring this to proper form, then Bm will be equal to, I introduce one constant. What is that constant means? I introduce that constant as mu naught. What is mu naught? Absolute permeability of free space. Now if I substitute for H, if I substitute here for B naught, what is B naught? B naught equal to H into mu naught. Then what happens to this equation now? Because this equation becomes now B equal to, for B naught I can substitute mu naught into H. Okay, then plus. For Bm I can substitute mu naught into M. Mu naught into M. Now, remove mu naught outside, then, sorry, we made a mistake. So, Bm is directly proportional to B naught equal to H into mu naught, okay, S, right, H plus M. H plus M, okay. Now, next, what we do means, I remove H also outside, then what happens? It becomes mu naught into H 1 plus M by H, okay, M by H. What is left on left hand side? B is left. Cross multiply and bring H to the denominator of this side. Then now it becomes B divided by H equal to, B divided by H equal to mu naught into 1 plus M by H. What is B by H? See, B by H, and for M by H we have to substitute. Okay, so B by H can be taken as mu, permeability of the magnetic material. So this all B by H now is equal to permeability mu. This is equal to mu naught into 1 plus, what is this M by H? This M by H is nothing but susceptibility, that's nothing but chi. Now, this is equal to mu naught. For this entire 1 by chi, I can substitute mu r, which is nothing but relative permeability of the material. So, finally, we have mu equal to mu naught into mu r. So, what is the substitution made to mu r? The substitution made to mu r is equal to 1 plus chi. So, this is the relation between the relative permeability and the susceptibility, whereas this is the relation between all three permeabilities. So, all three permeabilities, magnetic permeability of the material is equal to product of permeability of free space and relative permeability of the same material. So, this is the relation, final relation between susceptibility and the relative permeability. Now, let us study what are diamagnetic material, paramagnetic material and ferromagnetic material. So, magnetic material, study of magnetic materials and their properties. See, in nature, all the magnetic materials available are classified into three different types. What are those means? Diamagnetic material, paramagnetic material and ferromagnetic material. So, these are the three different types of magnetic material that's available in nature. Now, what are diamagnetic material? Diamagnetic materials are the materials. Remember, this is not a magnet. For time being, let us remove these poles so that you should not get confused. Diamagnetic materials are the materials which are weakly magnetized in the direction opposite to that of the magnetic field. That means if I keep one diamagnetic material, say for example this is nothing but a diamagnetic bar. If I keep this in an uniform magnetic field produced between two powerful magnetic pole pieces, so there are two powerful magnetic pole pieces, in between these two pole pieces a uniform magnetic field is there. In that uniform magnetic field, if I keep one magnetic material, and if that magnetic material get magnetized weakly in the direction opposite to that of the field, then we call that as diamagnetic material. So magnetized weakly opposite to field direction. Okay, so that's the meaning of diamagnetic material. See here, opposite to field direction means what? When once you keep the magnetic material, after some time what happens? It gets magnetized. That means it becomes a magnet. When once it becomes a magnet, it develops its own magnetic pole. So this side south pole will be developed, whereas at this end north pole will be developed. Look here, north and as well as south. So that is the meaning of magnetized weakly. Weakly means what? All the magnetic dipoles of this magnetic material do not align in the direction of magnetic field. Say for example, if there are 100 magnetic dipoles in this entire material, out of 100, let us say maybe around 20 dipoles, 20 magnetic dipoles may arrange in the direction of magnetic field. That is the meaning of weakly. Opposite to means if it is north pole here, then here at this end which pole is developed? South pole is developed, because south is opposite to north and north is opposite to south. So that's the meaning of oppositely magnetized. Then coming to the paramagnetic material, if you keep one paramagnetic material once again in an uniform magnetic field, then this material, once again this is nothing but a bar. If any magnetic material or magnetic bar is kept in an uniform magnetic field, now suppose if it gets magnetized, if this bar gets magnetized, this is the bar, okay, gets magnetized weakly, once again this also gets magnetized weakly in the direction of magnetic field, here it is magnetized opposite to field direction, here in the direction of magnetic field. What does it mean? After some time this bar gets magnetized and it possesses its own magnetic pole. Now here which pole is developed means north pole, and here south pole. Okay, so north and north, so both the poles are identical. That is the meaning of magnetized in the direction of magnetic field. Once again weakly means, say for example, once again if there are 100 magnetic dipoles in this bar, out of 100 let us say maybe around 30 to 40 magnetic dipoles may align in the direction of magnetic field. So that is the meaning of weakly magnetized. What about ferromagnetic material? Now suppose after keeping a bar in an uniform magnetic field produced between the two pole pieces, if that bar gets magnetized strongly once again in the direction of magnetic field, then we call that as ferromagnetic material. Remember, whatever property the paramagnetic material possesses, same property the ferromagnetic material also possesses, but only difference is the properties possessed by ferromagnetic material is very strong when compared to the properties produced by paramagnetic material. So both the material possess more or less same properties, but ferromagnetic material exhibits the properties strongly than the paramagnetic. So I can write like this once again: substance which gets magnetized strongly in the direction of, strongly in the direction of magnetic field, they are called as ferromagnetic material. Okay. So this is nothing but the definition of a diamagnetic, paramagnetic and ferromagnetic. There is one more way of defining these diamagnetic, paramagnetic and ferromagnetic. What are those? Means, suppose if you keep a magnetic material in what? In a non-uniform field. Look here, this is a non-uniform field. How do you say it is a non-uniform field? Because uniform field are represented by means of parallel magnetic lines of force like this. Okay, non-uniform magnetic field lines are not parallel. They are found to be what? They are found to be curved, or they may be diverging, non-uniform magnetic field, or the non-uniform magnetic field lines may be converging also. Here the magnetic field lines are taken in what? In a curved manner. Therefore, it is a non-uniform magnetic field. Where the magnetic lines of force are close, there the field will be stronger. Where the magnetic lines of force spread out far away from each other, there the field will be weaker. So, if you move from this end to this end, the field goes on decreasing. In such a non-uniform magnetic field, if I keep one magnetic material, if this magnetic material tends to move from stronger to weaker field region. So, if this magnetic material, if it tends to move from stronger to weaker field region, then such material is also known as diamagnetic material. Coming to this case of paramagnetic, that means here, once again in the non-uniform magnetic field, if I keep one magnetic material without knowing whether it is diamagnetic, paramagnetic or ferromagnetic, now I want to identify whether it is a diamagnetic, paramagnetic or ferromagnetic. So what I do means, I keep this in a non-uniform magnetic field. Now this magnetic material, if it tends to move from weaker region to stronger region, then we call this as paramagnetic material. What about ferromagnetic material? Same as that of this. Suppose on keeping one magnetic material in the non-uniform magnetic field, once again if that magnetic material tends to move from weaker to stronger field region, then it is also known as ferromagnetic material. Then what difference is there between paramagnetic and ferromagnetic with respect to this? Means, if it is a paramagnetic material, then it moves slowly. It moves slowly. Suppose if it is a ferromagnetic material, then it moves fast. Suppose if I imagine this as a paramagnetic material, if I keep this in non-uniform field, then from weaker to stronger, it moves slowly like this. Suppose in case of ferromagnetic, this magnetic material, if it is a ferromagnetic, it moves strongly like this, moves strongly. That's the difference. Okay. Then let us come to its properties. So I can write with respect to this, I can write like this: material. Which material? Diamagnetic material. So diamagnetic material, magnetic material moves from where to where? Moves from stronger to weaker, when kept in a non-uniform magnetic field. Here it moves from weaker to stronger. It moves. How it moves? It moves slowly. Whereas in case of ferromagnetic, it moves from, once again, weaker to stronger, but it moves quickly. It moves fast. That's the difference. Then suppose in a uniform magnetic field, if I suspend one magnetic material, say for example diamagnetic material, now if this magnetic material, what happens means, now it is going to align. It is going to align perpendicular to the magnetic field. Suppose if you imagine this as a diamagnetic bar, by means of thread, if I suspend this, then what happens? It aligns like this perpendicular to magnetic field direction. Whereas in this case, if I suspend one paramagnetic bar in a uniform magnetic field, then it aligns always along field direction. That means it aligns parallel to field direction. Even this ferromagnetic material also aligns parallel to field direction. But only thing is, paramagnetic material, suppose if initial position is this, then if it is a paramagnetic material, slowly it aligns in the direction of magnetic field. Suppose if it is a ferromagnetic material, if you imagine this as a ferromagnetic material, if I suspend this, then quickly it aligns along the direction of magnetic field. If it is a paramagnetic, slowly it aligns in the direction of magnetic field. If it is a ferromagnetic, quickly it aligns in the direction of magnetic field. So that's the difference between this and this. That's what I told at the beginning, that ferromagnetic material exhibits almost all the properties of paramagnetic materials, but it exhibits those properties strongly. So here what I can write with respect to this, the bar aligns perpendicular to magnetic field B. Here the bar aligns parallel to magnetic field B slowly, whereas here the bar aligns once again parallel to magnetic field quickly. Now let us write few examples for diamagnetic material, paramagnetic material, and also for ferromagnetic material. For diamagnetic material, look here, I can consider like this: copper, gold, silver, that means Au and Ag, silver, copper, gold, silver, then diamond I can consider, then quartz, okay, nitrogen, then hydrogen, diamond, quartz, copper, gold, silver. All these are the examples for what? Examples for the diamagnetic material. So too many examples we can give. So let us give this: copper, gold, silver. Even we can consider mercury also, Hg, mercury, as an example for this diamagnetic material. Then what are the examples for this paramagnetic material? So paramagnetic materials examples. So these are the examples for diamagnetic material. I can consider the examples like this: aluminum, chromium, lithium, okay. Then even I can consider this platinum, then H2O, understand, H2O. So these are the examples: aluminum, chromium, lithium, platinum, H2O, sodium, calcium, magnesium, sodium, calcium, magnesium. All these are the examples for the paramagnetic material. Then coming to the ferromagnetic materials, what are the examples for ferromagnetic material? Iron, cobalt, nickel, okay, then steel, alnico. So these are nothing but alloys. That means iron, cobalt, nickel and their alloys I have considered. All these are the examples for ferromagnetic material. Now let us consider few more properties of diamagnetic material, paramagnetic material and ferromagnetic material. Suppose if I consider one strong bar magnet, north pole, south pole of the magnet, then close to this strong magnet, bar magnet, if I keep one diamagnetic material, then this diamagnetic material is weakly repelled. It is repelled weakly, okay. So if you keep a material, if you imagine this as a material, then it gets repelled like this weakly. It moves away from this magnet. Whereas if you consider paramagnetic material, again, suppose if I consider one strong bar magnet. So this is a strong magnet. Once again, here also it is a strong magnet, and this is nothing but diamagnetic material, whereas here I am going to keep paramagnetic material. Now what happens means it is weakly attracted, not repelled, weakly attracted by the magnet. This is one property. Now coming to this ferromagnetic material, so if I consider now weak magnet instead of strong magnet, weak magnet, then North Pole, South Pole. Now if you keep one ferromagnetic material, then strongly it is attracted. That means quickly it gets attracted. Here it is weakly attracted, here it is strongly attracted. Okay, this is one of the property. Then coming to the relative permeability. Relative permeability for diamagnetic material is less than 1. Okay, slightly less than 1. Slightly less than 1. Okay. Suppose if I consider paramagnetic material, then the relative permeability of any paramagnetic material is found to be greater than 1. That means slightly greater than 1. What about this ferromagnetic material? For ferromagnetic material, relative permeability is very much greater than 1. So, very much greater than 1. Okay. This is another property. Then coming to magnetic susceptibility. Susceptibility for diamagnetic material is low and negative. Low and negative. That means chi value is very, very low and it is found to be negative value. Whereas if I consider paramagnetic material, for paramagnetic material chi value is low but positive. So it has positive value of chi, whereas diamagnetic metal has the negative value of chi. Coming to this ferromagnetic material, so susceptibility is high and positive. Okay. Then coming to one more property with respect to susceptibility itself. Susceptibility is independent of temperature. Independent of temperature. What does it mean? Suppose if you eat a diamagnetic material, if you eat this, then its susceptibility remains constant, it is not going to change. If you increase the temperature of diamagnetic material, susceptibility value still remains negative and as well as low, it is not going to change. Whereas in case of paramagnetic material, susceptibility is found to be inversely proportional to absolute temperature. What does it mean? Here, suppose if you consider a paramagnetic material, if you eat this, then as temperature increases, its susceptibility goes on decreasing. So that is the meaning of this. As T increases, higher the temperature of paramagnetic material, then lower will be the susceptibility, it goes on decreasing. Then coming to ferromagnetic material, once again here susceptibility is found to be inversely proportional to absolute temperature itself. Okay, that means if you increase the temperature, here also susceptibility decreases. If T is increased, susceptibility is decreased. But with respect to the susceptibility of paramagnetic material and ferromagnetic material, so we are able to state two laws. One is known as Curie law and another one is Curie-Weiss law. So when we discuss about the variation of susceptibility with the temperature of paramagnetic, diamagnetic and ferromagnetic material, we come across that. So till then, so you consider that the susceptibility is going to decrease as we increase the temperature, and we know very well that the ferromagnetic material possess almost all the properties of paramagnetic, but it possesses those properties strongly or to a greater extent. So these are the different properties of para, dia and ferro. If you just keep all these properties in memory, then we can write the distinguishing feature between any two material. That means distinguishing between dia and para, or distinguishing feature between paramagnetic and ferromagnetic material, or even we can distinguish the ferromagnetic material with that of diamagnetic material. Thank you.